Hello and welcome to Hot Topics Live. I'm Peter Stjanovic, editor of Hot Topics, and this is the final episode of our Road to Recovery series in association with Rakuten Advertising. Now, I'm about to be joined by Martin Francis of FitFlop. Together, we're going to understand how the brand has coped over the last 6 months, 2020, and what its plans are for 2021. We're going to also be looking at the other elements of the series where we learn from marketers and publishers alike exactly what they're seeing in the industry too. That way we get a nice comparison with all the different brands all over the world. Let's join Martin now. Thank you so much for joining me on this discussion, Road to Recovery, looking back and forward over the next 6 months. Fascinating to hear your thoughts on what we've been going through. Let's start though with yourself. Who are FitFlop, what's going on, and how are you?
Well, that's a long question, but thank you very much, Peter. I'm very happy to be here. Yes, I'm Martin Francis. I'm Global Digital General Manager for FitFlop. FitFlop's a global footwear brand. We've been around for 13 years with a real mission to make shoes for super women. So we make sandals, sneakers, shoes and boots with kind of absolute world-class comfort technology in. And it's been an absolutely fascinating time because there's been a lot going on over the course of the last year, and I think there's still a lot to come.
Absolutely, and you operate really, I suppose, in the wellness and fashion position, which was doing so well up until 2020. What happened for FitFlop and for yourselves? It'd be interesting to know exactly how you pivoted and what you saw in order to pivot.
Yes, I think we saw what everyone else did. So I think I could almost pinpoint it to Donald Trump talking about closing the airlines through to Europe, and literally within 24 hours, from a digital perspective, we could see a negative delta straight away because we're always on it with the numbers from digital. We're always seeing what's going on. It allowed us to kind of rip up the plans and start again and kind of really react to that. So it wasn't too bad of a shock. But I think that's what we've been reacting to. And also from a brand perspective, we've got partners that buy from us to sell the product where they've got store closures. And you know, we're in America, EMEA and APAC. And we almost could see it across the globe and seeing APAC come out, you know, and recover slightly earlier. So allowed us to see lots of different trends, I think, in our different markets.
And as a marketeer, what were your main priorities during that period?
I think it's kind of actually, it was so fast and furious, and there was a huge amount of crisis management. I think there's a huge amount of data coming in and having to make decisions very quickly. I think was the main thing that we saw. I think we kind of and again, you know, we had big plans for 2020 like everyone else, and I think it was a very, very quick, you know, we saw very quickly that we were going to have to be quite tactical, very quick and very reactive. And I think, you know, saw different trends through. So much so that, you know, we were into sandal selling season and suddenly slippers is off the chart in Google. So you've got to do something about that.
So the most interesting part about this really is being able to compare and contrast different regions, different companies and sectors, Martin, in order to get a better picture of that road to recovery. So if you don't mind, I think we're going to drop in Chike of Cult Beauty. We interviewed her a number of weeks ago on this very topic. Have a listen to what she has seen. And it'll be interesting for you to note and compare and contrast what you've seen too.
From Cult Beauty's kind of point of view, we really did, as the pandemic was global, we saw that demand actually increase, not just within the UK, but a lot of kind of the Northern European territories, which is one of the focuses for us at the moment. We have a .com site and they target certain countries, and with those countries going into lockdown as well, they experience very similar issues with buying, you know, in physical stores like our consumers did. So they turned to online and they were searching for their brands. So in that instance, paid search, that's where you can capture a lot of these audiences. So it was a really, really good opportunity for us to expand, and it was a great way to acquire new. However, the only downside I'd say to that is we are obviously not the only retailer that realizes this. It goes without saying, but that means the offline retailers also moving into that paid search space, increasing their budgets, increasing their spends. So what initially would have been, quite a profitable way to acquire new customers now actually means for that certain keywords which do drive a lot of new customers or do drive sales, it becomes a bidding war.
So listening to Chika then, what do you think, Martin?
So it's a familiar story, really. I think, as I said, it's kind of been a retail roller coaster with everything going on. And I think, it has been. I think after initially everyone battening down the hatches a little bit, I think, coming into the summer, I think it has got more competitive as people, as companies have stabilised. And I think we've seen a bidding war. I think kind of start really at the end of summer. And I think, I've probably from a digital perspective, I've seen probably one of the biggest, most significant step changes, I think, since my early career back in the noughties online. So, it's been over 10 years since you've seen such a dynamic shift where in 3 months we probably accelerated 3 years towards kind of online, being as dominant a player as retail has been.
On that note, if one can survive those 3 months, that should have really been 3 years. Do you think it's a net positive for those organisations that has completed that when thinking about the last 6 months?
I think so. If you're online or your overall multi-channel position is good. I mean, obviously, there are those that have really benefited from COVID, and there are some other parts of the sector, retail sector, travel sector, that have obviously seen some really tragic decline. So I think it's being very agile, understanding what's going on with your business, and what impact it's having for your customer. You've got to be so quick and confident in reacting.
And we'll switch to Carrie Paredes from the same interview of Harvey Nichols, who puts forward a different perspective, not least because they're mainly a physical organisation. Let's see what she's had to say. It'd be good to hear your thoughts.
Their competition, it's even, more predominant now than what it would have been, 6 months ago. So I think the way that we're doing is really focusing on those USPs, like exclusives, any price advantage, any of those things that we have that competitors might not have. So we're really just focusing on those points that kind of we stay true to ourselves globally to kind of deliver that message to the customer. And to the point about profit or demand, really trying to find that balance. I think we find it very difficult as well, especially right now, because you do want to acquire those customers, but you end up paying so much because the competition is so high, then you realize, well, this is actually not profitable. So I think the way that we've kind of managed it, we've just tried to find a balance that, is benefiting us as a company, but we actually capturing and kind of incentivizing those customers that would come back. So utilizing a lot of personalization and targeting that would make the revenue these customers are bringing in quite incremental.
Fantastic. So Martin, listen to Carrie. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think from a USP's perspective, you've got that, that's part of your business model. You've got to be able to, with clarity of message, talk about that. We focus on that all the time at FitFlop. I think, profit versus demand. It's very easy to get to worry about that top line, especially with the market in such distress. But you've really got to worry about the bottom line and more importantly your cash flow management. You can be quite profitable and have terrible cash flow, right? And that's what really hurts businesses. I think knowing what really matters is important, and what is a must-have and what's a nice-to-have from a marketing point of view, and being able to really, as I said before, redeploy resources very quickly. You can capitalize on those opportunities.
And just to close off this half of the interview, looking at the last 6 months. What has been your clear take home?
I think that our teams and I think our retailers across the market, I think we have been very agile, and I think we have had to learn very quickly. I mean, just working from home has been a living out our works has been has been a revelation, and actually seen massive improvements in productivity that we could never have guessed. So we've learned an awful lot, and I think that helps to kind of really set us up for whatever the future has to come.
Fantastic. So let's use that then and move forward. So taking what you've learned from the last 6 months, that productivity, that agility, working from home, the disruption you've seen, what are you bringing forward?
I think we're ensuring that we're communicating effectively our product offering and the amazing product that we do have for our customers, and ensuring that is that means that we don't need to kind of be as distressed as a company. We can make sure that we're not having to get into what some have from a discount war. So I think it makes you sharpen up and think about your business model and think, is it fit for purpose? I think we've all had to do that.
And we'll go now to an interview again with some publishers, Deal Moon and Global Savings Group. They have an interesting conversation about Q4 of this year and into the future. A, that it's very unpredictable, but also B, that there's ways they can actually capitalise on that unpredictability. Let's just listen to them now.
We feel like recently every single day has felt like Q4 for us. But Alexander, what I'd love to know from you, because I'm really trying to figure out what Q4 is going to be. And I think that there's going to be substantial shifts in Q4 of the likes that we haven't seen before. I think I have my gut intuition of what may be happening, but I'd love to hear, have you guys thought about that? Do you think that there's going to be a difference in Q4 this year?
I think it's an excellent question. Thank you so much, Rose. Honestly, we're not 100% certain on what's going to happen in Q4. We're planning for Black Friday as usual and hoping that will become a big sales event. But of course, things have moved online, and if we are being pushed into a second sort of massive lockdown, which is a very likely scenario, we are seeing numbers rising for COVID across, Europe right now. America is dealing with its own numbers, so it's a challenge all across.
Okay, so that was Rose and Alexander. Does anything in there resonate with you, Martin?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think I've been the busiest that I've ever been. That's part of that kind of crisis management culture that we've had. And I think we've had to learn very, very quickly with those shifts that quick shifts mean that we've had to be used to kind of what's worked before might not work anymore. So therefore you've got to be really innovative. We've been testing and learning an awful lot, trying new ideas. I think Black Friday is going to be super interesting. I think Black Friday will be the best it's ever been for all of our customers, but maybe not necessarily for all of our retailers. So I think that's going to be an interesting watch. And look, the thing that we do know is things are going to change, and we've got to all have contingency plans.
And as a team, as a marketing function, is there a way that you're trying to make yourself more resilient to change, or at least more reflexive when change does happen?
I think we've got the right kind of framework where we can see where things are right and when things are wrong. And things being wrong is not a problem. It just means it gives us an opportunity to optimize our campaigns or our messaging. And I do think we were relying on it before, but I think testing and learning when everything's changing is just critical.
One thing we learned from a previous discussion was this almost tension point, I suppose, between the marketing function trying to be realistic in how much it can plan, with maybe the CFO and his or her team wanting the figures in order to bake into their outlook for the year ahead. Is that something you're seeing either at FitFlop or across the function?
Yeah, I think we've been very. I mean, we are very close to all of our divisions. You have to be close to your logistics division because they've been under huge amounts of stress as well. And across the board, IT obviously. But yeah, I think our CFO has really wanted to understand the results and understand the trends, because it's a hard thing for them to plan for as well. But I think the great thing about digital is you can measure everything and we can see everything, and we had very good ways of reporting on that before, and we've sharpened them up and given even more transparency to the rest of the business.
Fantastic. And are you seeing green shoots to recovery? It's very early days, I know, but is anything that's giving you pause for optimism?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's made us sharpen up. I mean, as a business, we've had to. It's been a wake up call, and it's made us be able to kind of stand back and look at our business model and say, yeah, this is great, but actually, no, this isn't that great. Maybe we shouldn't do that anymore. So we've still got a great offering. It's just making you refocus. And that's been really enjoyable.
Yeah. And the final clip we'll look at is again from Alexandra and Rose's interview. We'll look at that now, and again for your thoughts later. It would be great to hear.
We I would call it now, we're a German company and sort of a European company used to this long planning cycles. I think we will see a trend now where we are being forced into thinking much more short term, or at least not like being agile in the ability to come up with new campaigns on a very, very short notice and launch them to capture the momentum and capture the trend that's happening right now.
Fantastic. So Martin, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's the same theme, isn't it? Long-term planning doesn't really work anymore in this environment. There is an opportunity to capture the momentum that's going on, and I think we've got to be really dynamic here, and whether you're being tactical, strategic, you know that you've got to be, that the market's too variable to be able to stick with what worked before or your old business models. So it's time to really evaluate that and test and be prepared to pivot, and evolve, your multi-channel models. Multi-channel is the winner really here, and I think being able to have that digital within your armory and seeing that acceleration, it's only going to get ever more stronger as we go on over the course of the end of this year and into next year.
Absolutely. And if we look ahead to 2021, what would be a clear winner for you?
That's a great question. What would be a clear winner? I think, I think there'll be a lot of consolidation in the retail space. So I think, unfortunately, we're going to see those negative Nelly headlines coming through still about retail, because it's a tough environment. So I think, the clear winner for me is if your business model stands up this year, then you're going to be in a really great place for next year. And for hopefully what we hope is a better global picture.
Well, Martin, thank you so much for your time and for your reflections on both those interviews. It was great to have that comparison in the industry, and also good luck for 2021. Well, that concludes our Road to Recovery series in association with Rakuten Advertising. Thank you very much for following us on this Road to Recovery journey. It's been interesting not just to understand how the marketing and publishing functions have fared over the course of the 6 months, but how they interpret what's happened in order to inform their journeys moving forward. Now, difficult decisions have had to be made, yes, but green shoots to recovery seem to be around as long as you know where to look and how to look for them. Thank you.